Hi. So about a year ago, I was working on putting together all my synths in a studio to a meaningful setup so that all of them are connected to MIDI and audio and sort of be immediately available every time inspiration strikes. But at the same time, I was trying to build a portable setup, battery powered, for my jams, where I would exchange bits of gear according to mood or whatever with as little friction as possible. So for MIDI at the time, I was using my old iConnectivity iConnect MIDI 4 Plus, which is great but slowly failing. It has 4 DIN pairs and one USB host that can take USB hub and works for up to 8 USB MIDI devices. So that's all well and good, but the iConnect is sort of bulky and needs a power adapter, so it's fine for studio use but unfit for portable setup. So I was browsing for smaller alternatives and couldn't find any that would fit all the devices I have and be small enough to drag around for jams. And I started dreaming up my perfect MIDI interface and even made a mock-up. And then I posted the idea on CME's Facebook with just, hey, CME guys, you make some pretty cool stuff. How about making something like this? And they said, well, yeah, we'll think about it. And a bunch of people in the Facebook group said they'd be interested in such a device, and there was some back and forth with the developers on what's actually reasonably possible. They shut down some features like dual PC connection that the iConnect has, and the on-device routing inspired by the MRCC, but the rest of the idea seemed feasible. So again, they said, let's see what we can come up with. And after about a year, Thomas from CME contacted me saying, hey, we actually made it. It's production ready. Do you want to test the pre-production unit? And of course I said yes, and here we are. So first of all, shout out to Thomas and the whole CME team that actually listens to their customers. Some basic info. The H12Midi Pro is a MIDI interface and router that can handle 8 virtual ports from computer, has 6 TRS MIDI ins and outs and 6 USB-C ports for connecting class-compliant MIDI devices. If you connect a USB hub to one of the USB host ports, you can use up to 16 class-compliant devices. However, if the device has multiple virtual USB ports like the launch key, these take up the available USB host ports, so connecting the launch key here takes up 2 USB host ports with 14 ports remaining. But you can disable unused ports in the HX Tools software, like this. The whole thing is powered by USB-C, but if you connect multiple USB devices, it's recommended to use a power adapter. It accepts 9 volts, 3 amps with outer positive barrel, same as guitar pedals. If the connected USB device requires more than 100 milliamps, the H12 will automatically shut down the port and you have to power it another way, for example, by using a powered USB hub. Also, if the total power consumption of all USB devices exceeds 3 amps, CME recommends to connect the devices via a powered USB hub. On top, there's preset button that cycles between 6 presets, a panic button, and a power standby button. When you hold the standby button for more than 3 seconds, it puts H12 to sleep, then press it briefly to wake it up. TRS jacks are marked with arrows, and the outs have this white circle around them, which is great visual aid when connecting. The LEDs on top are white for USB, red for ins, and green for outs. They light up solid when powered on and blink when the MIDI messages flow through the ports, which again is great for troubleshooting. The TRS jacks are switchable between A and B type in HX MIDI tool software, and the whole thing is freely routable, and there are MIDI filters that can, for example, block MIDI sync or sysex or whatever for every port, and there's a MIDI mapper function that can change incoming messages, let's say a note, and output a different message, let's say a control change. Honestly, this is a bit overkill for me, except for maybe blocking MIDI sync start-stop messages on some gear, but it's definitely nice to have if you have more complex setups. And all this in a package that fits into your pocket. The only thing I'm missing is the wireless VD port, but the devs said they opted for a metal enclosure which doesn't play nice with wireless signals. But there's still an option of connecting a VDU host to USB-C or VD jack to TRS and getting wireless MIDI, of course, with all the routing and remapping possibilities too. So that's the basic overview. The firmware is still in beta, so there are some quirks here and there that hopefully will be ironed out in final firmware by the time it gets released in February 2026. There's pre-order up on CME's website if you're interested, and I follow up with some more in-depth videos for the H12Midi Pro soon, especially using it without a computer for a portable setup, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching and see you next time.